Hello everybody, welcome to my booth at the virtual Beachcombing Festival 2020. This is Jackie Trimper Sea Glass. So as I'm sure you're aware, all of the sea glass festivals, all the beachcombing festivals, they've all been canceled this summer because of the pandemic that's going on. Well, I was so excited that Beachcombing magazine has set up a virtual Beachcombing Festival. If you want to check it out, just go to beachcombingmagazine.com. You can check out all of the speakers. There's going to be tons of booths. There's going to be all sorts of interesting people there showing off their sea glass collections. It should be really interesting. Maybe not as good as being there in person, but I think we'll all get a chance to see a lot more things than we would if we went to any one sea glass festival, because I think a lot of people are going to be participating in this one. So what I've done, I've set up my booth in my house, and I'm going to take you on a tour of my booth. I'm going to show you different things that I've made with my sea glass. And if you're interested in purchasing anything, you just have to go to my website, jackietrimperseaglass.com, and you can go to my shop and buy things. You can look at all of my stuff. You don't even have to buy anything. Just if you're curious and want to look at things, that's fine. So, 3 things that I really like about sea glass festivals, because this is it for this year. This is the Sea Glass Festival. One of the things I really like is to go around to all of the other booths and see what people are doing with their sea glass and see what they're selling, and just to talk to people who are interested in sea glass. So that's a lot of fun. And then going to listen to the speakers. So there'll be a lot for you to see at this Sea Glass Festival. The second thing that I really like is it gives me a chance to talk to people who are into sea glass. I don't know how you guys find it, but I really like sea glass, and when I get talking about sea glass in my normal day-to-day life, I can just see people's eyes gloss over. I can bore them to tears so fast, it's terrible. Whereas when I'm at the Sea Glass Festival, that just doesn't happen, because everybody that's there is so into sea glass. And I love connecting with other people that have a like-minded interest as I have. And then the third thing I really like about going to a sea glass festival is that I get to wear my sea glass dress. Maybe you didn't even notice that my dress is covered in sea glass, but it is. Every time I go to the Sea Glass Festival, people ask me where I got it. Well, my daughter-in-law found it at a thrift shop, and it was in my exact size. Like, what are the chances of that? So I love wearing my dress, so I need a good occasion. So today's a good occasion because I'm giving you a tour of my sea glass booth. So I have my book. It's called Windows to the Past, Creating Sea Glass Mosaic Art. I told you I had a lot to say about sea glass. I had enough to say to fill an entire book. Anyway, if you're interested in that, I do have a special on. If you type in the coupon code Beachcombing, you can get 20% off anything you buy in my shop during the Sea Glass Festival. And that's going to run till the end of 2020. The other thing that I've done is I've put together kits. And in the kit, you'll find a copy of my book. There'll be a pattern and all the instructions to do a small 8x10 sea glass mosaic. There's the silicone, the glue that I use for creating it. There's enough sea glass to do the 8x10, a picture of the completed project. There's a few little tools in there for you to use. So everything you need to make one of these 3. You get a choice of either the Creating Waves design that I've done, the Nova Scotia Lighthouse, or the sailboat. So of those 3, I do have kits available. So if you don't want the entire kit and you're just interested in the pattern and instructions, you can go to my website, and I have the pattern and the instructions for the Lighthouse, for the Creating Waves design, for the sailboat design, and I also have a few other designs. I have a hummingbird, I have a beach scene, I have a tree and moon scene, and I also have a quilted landscape small barn scene, which is a little bit different because it also involves quilting. But you can just go to my website if you want to check those out. So speaking of quilting, I really like sea glass art, and I really like quilt art. So I've combined my love of sea glass with my love of fabric art, and I made a whole bunch of fabric sea glass mini art. And these, what I've done is I've made them out of fabric and I've embellished them with sea glass, and they're all in standard sizes. So I've got 4x6, 5 by 7, and 8 by 10, and I've made quite a few of them. These are all one of a kind. What you can do is you can write on the back. I've made them so you can sign them and you can write a note just the same as you would a greeting card, but then you can put them into a standard size frame and frame them, and they make a lovely piece of art. I've given away a lot as gifts. Now these I have not had for sale on my website in the past. I've only sold them to people in person, or I've given them away to people. So this is a new thing, and if you are interested in getting one, these are one of. I don't do more than it's one of a kind. So hopefully if you see one that you like, let me know right away, because it could be gone. And there's only one of them. So here's a close-up look of all the 4" by 6" mini quilted art pieces that I have. Each one has a few little pieces of sea glass in it, and they're all quite unique. And here's a close-up look of all the 8 by 10 mini quilted art pieces that I have. I got on a bit of a series with these underwater pieces, and I made quite a few of them. I really quite like them. The colors are a little bit different. There's one that's just unique in itself. I only made one of those. But there's a few of these underwater pieces. And I've done a whole series of these yoga poses as well. So 5" by 7" is definitely my preferred size to work in when it comes to making these mini quilted art pieces. I just find it a really nice size to put some pieces of fabric and felting and whatever I feel like working with at the time. Put all that stuff together and add some sea glass or some shells or pebbles. There I've added some jewelry to that one, and some buttons to that one. Just anything that might be a bit interesting, and whatever colors I feel like working at a time. I make a lot of abstract designs and seascape designs, landscape, and I've made a lot of seascape. I quite like the seascape ones. And the herons, I've made a lot of herons in my sea glass and in my fabric art. And the flowers make really nice cards, and then you can take that and pop it into a 5 by 7 frame, and they make lovely little gifts. The little seascapes and frames are nice as well. So I also like to make these little tea lights. They make wonderful little gifts. I only use white sea glass when I'm making them because I really prefer them in the white sea glass, and I love the way the light shines through from the little tea light candle. And each one's a little bit different depending on the rock that I use for the base and the special pieces that I use to decorate the side. I usually use, see there's a piece of driftwood, some shells, some sea glass. Each one is unique. So I'm going to show you some of my smaller sea glass mosaics. There's my sailboat and my lighthouse and my creating ways that I've already showed you. And I have this mosaic on a mirror piece hanging on the wall there. And over here I have another sailboat. And I have a couple of my tree and supermoon pieces here. That's a single tree, and there's 3 trees right there. And down here I have a flower bed piece. So now I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour of some of my larger sea glass mosaics, and this is more of a show than a sale. Although I do sell my large sea glass mosaics, getting them to a person can be a bit cumbersome because they're very large, they're very heavy, and they are breakable. They're glass after all. So what I usually do is set up some sort of pickup or delivery type of arrangement, which is great if you live in Nova Scotia, which is where I am. But otherwise it can be a bit hard to figure out because this is really unconventional art. I often go to somebody's house as well to hang it for them because they're not used to hanging this type of art. But when I go to a sea glass festival, I can only take a couple of my bigger pieces with me. So this is a wonderful opportunity to show you quite a few of my larger pieces. So I wanted to use that opportunity to show you and inspire you, give you some ideas of where you can go with your sea glass art and some things that you might like to try. So I'll start over here and show you a few of my large sea glass mosaics over here. This is a sailboat. I call this one Sailboat Regatta. And then I have my very large blue heron, even though it's brown, but I fashion it after the stately blue heron that I often see around our cottage. And then over here, these are all on antique windows. So because they're windows, they're quite large. They're window size. That's a scene of the beach in front of my cottage in PEI. And here's a scene of me sitting in a boat looking out over the water. And this one I call Starry Night. You might see it's inspired a bit by Van Gogh. And then I have my two very large church windows. And then I have my two side lights here, the abstract design. I call these ones Rocks and Stream because the bottle bottoms make me think of rocks, and then the wavy lines are like the water going around the rocks in a stream. And here's a fish piece, School of Fish. I love the underwater scenes. And here's another underwater scene with some really cool jellyfish in it. Lots of really interesting beach treasures in that one. And then here's another one. This is an Inukshuk. And I wanted to show you a few hanging in the window. That's definitely my preferred way of displaying my sea glass mosaics because the changing light of the day always changes how the sea glass looks, and I love watching how it changes throughout the day. So this piece I call Family of Fish, and it's hanging by cup hooks from the top of the window frame. And this other fish piece is just sitting on the windowsill right now. I call this one Just Keep Swimming. That lonely little fish just swimming along, trying to make its way to wherever it's going. And I also have a couple of my antique church windows hanging in windows. And this one is a really cool shaped window that I did a flower on. Looks beautiful with the light shining through it. And here's another window that I rescued from a church when they were replacing their windows. And I really like this one. I call this one Trinity. So I also wanted to show you a few pieces I had hung up in the showroom of my husband's car dealership. This one I call Fall Grass, and it's on a fairly small antique window. I really like that window. It's kind of a cool one. And then here I have a window hanging in a window, hanging on cup hooks there. I call this one Lighthouse on the Rocks. I love those lighthouse pieces. And here's one of my herons. This is a flying heron. And then I have another one of my Creating Waves pieces. This one is called Creating Waves in France because that shell in the very center there is from a beach in France. And here's my one-room schoolhouse. And then this piece I have up here, it's a fairly large window, and it's one of my favorites. This one is called Ferry to PEI because it's a scene of standing on the deck of the ferry going from New Brunswick over to Prince Edward Island. And then I have a really small piece down here, my small jellyfish. So thanks so much for visiting my booth at the virtual Sea Glass Festival. It would be so much more fun to see you in person, but this is better than nothing. And be sure to check out the rest of the festival at beachcombingmagazine.com.